Hi, I'm Justin and welcome back to Just Shaves. For this video, I want to take a break from the double-edged safety razors and focus instead on Shavettes, also referred to as Barber style straight razors. I started using Shavettes relatively the same time I jumped into the double-edged safety razor, so this has been about 2 years ago. After I already had some double-edged safety razor blades on hand, I figured what the heck, why not? I decided to jump right in and try it. I now use them primarily for shaping my beard, my mustache, and then also for shaving my lower neck area. Similar to straight razors, they're going to perform really well when you want a close shave but minimal irritation. And this is just because you're able to control the blade better, the angle, the amount of pressure. So for all the same reasons why double-edged safety razors do better than cartridge razors, Shavettes, when used properly, as well as straight razors when used properly, can also do that to a greater extent. So with that, I kind of want to take a few moments and just highlight the different types of Shavettes out there. I've tried quite a few just because typically they're not very expensive, and then curiosity kind of got the best of me at sometimes. But I just want to just show off some of the ones I have, highlight which parts of them I think work really well for me and which may not work well for others as well. But with that, the very first one I purchased, this was the Equinox Shavette. This is made out of stainless steel. It's got pretty good weight to it as well. This one works with half double-edged safety razor blades, and it has a little clasp that opens up, and you kind of just pop the blade right in, close it, and it holds the blade tight. Very affordable, economical. This particular one, when I purchased it 2 years ago, was about $12, and it came with 100 snapped off double-edged safety razor blades as well. So when you factor in the free blades that they tossed in, this actually cost me less than $10. But I used this for a couple months, and I ended up realizing there were a few things that didn't work super well for me, but I wanted to highlight that for other people as well. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and load a blade in. This is a half DE blade that's been snapped in half, and then you just have to lift this clasp back up to close over to hold it in place, and then there's a lock that holds it. The part I like least about this is just how wide the face is compared to the blade. What ends up happening is that you have the blade, let's say the blade's right here. The outside of the face is kind of way out here, and you end up having these little gaps right here between the blade and the face of the razor. So when you're holding it up against your face, you're always going to start shallow and then start working the blade out until you get the right angle. Again, start shallow and then work out. With this razor, finding that right angle was a little bit difficult for me because when you have it perfectly flat, shallow against your face, the blade's not touching at all. And as you start rocking it out, you eventually hit that perfect angle, but then it's really easy to go just a little bit past that. And then that's where you get cuts and nicks pretty easily. So for me, I cut myself quite a few times learning on this one. And I kind of figured it came with the territory, and to some extent it did, because I built up my skills, and now I can kind of pick up most Shavettes without cutting myself. But this one, I definitely cut myself quite a few times starting off. And there's a few other ones I have now that I don't think that I would have gotten the same level of cuts with. The other thing I wanted to point out too that I don't love about this one is the scales on this one's made out of stainless steel. So some people might prefer the heft to it, but what ends up happening is as you start getting to the right angle, now you have gravity that's now going to push the blade further into your skin. So that's just something I'm not a huge fan of. In terms of the build quality for under $10, this is, it's pretty solid for what it is, but just how it's designed wasn't great for me. And again, how you hold it, I sometimes use 2 fingers on the front, 2 fingers in the back. Sometimes I'll go 3 in the front, 1 in the back. Really up to you, whatever's comfortable for you. I wouldn't say there's any absolute right way to hold it, but as long as you're comfortable and you can maneuver it, any slight maneuver in the wrong direction at any point is what's going to lead to you getting cut. So you absolutely have to have something that's going to feel good in your hands and that you're comfortable with. But yeah, again, learning with this one, I did run into a few issues. It was fun starting off with it, but after a month or so, I knew I wanted to move on to try something else. The next half D razor I moved on to was Parker Shavette. This is what they refer to as their push type Shavette. They also have the clasp style Shavettes as well. So they have a few different versions. Some of them are going to have the same clasps and then they come with different scales. This one's the push type, and it's called the push type just because of how the blade gets loaded in. Inside of here, there's a little insert where you load the blade into and you slide it in. And my favorite thing about this is just with how the head's designed, it ends up being thinner. So when you have it right up against your face, there's not as much of a gap that you have to suddenly turn to get the blade engaged. Once you start shallow, it's very easy to feel once that blade's engaged properly, and it's easier to start shaving. Another thing, I like the plastic scales. Looks great, feels great, and it doesn't add too much torque from gravity from the scales being too heavy. So this was one of my favorite DE style Shavettes when I was starting out. I actually had, so this is the push type black. This one cost about $20 to $25. The first one I got was similar model, but they also make an adjustable version. So I had the push type adjustable, which ends up costing about $30. The design's pretty much identical except for the inserts. It comes with 3 different inserts. So this insert right here would be referred to as their medium insert, and you can just see how much blade's sticking out. The other 2 inserts, there's a low exposure one, which basically just brings the blade down lower, and a higher one as well that brings it up higher. The high exposure one, I think that's actually designed for barbers so they can see the blade as they're lining people up. But if you're shaving on yourself, I'm a huge fan of having less of the DE blade sticking out, because the more DE blades sticking out, the more it's going to be prone to either poking you on the corners or the blade's actually going to bend and flex because of how thin the DE blade is. So when I had this one as the adjustable version, when I had the low insert, it was money for me when I was starting out. I ended up losing it on a trip, and instead of replacing it, I ended up just buying a bunch of other different Shavettes. But push type Shavettes doesn't have to be Parker. This one feels great in my hand, but there's a few other of this style as well. Main thing, the thinner head makes it a little bit easier to work with. A lighter scale stops the razor from torquing into your skin as well. Another type of DE razor I have, this is called a Turkish razor. I don't have a blade in here, and I'm not going to put one in on camera because it's kind of finicky. But basically, there's not a complicated loading mechanism. This is just a really, really thin razor, and you kind of have to push the blade in, and when you want to take it out, you need to hold it up against a hard edge or a comb to slide the blade out. Main advantage with this one is just going to be how thin it is. As I said, you always want to start shallow and then start working out. This one, you can hold it pretty much flat to your skin and have the blade right where you want to have it. So in terms of maneuverability, this is probably as good as it gets. Works fine for me. I ended up not using it a whole lot just because I don't love the way it feels in my hand. You know, the handle piece of it was just a little too thin, not uncomfortable, and a little uncomfortable for me. Works great. I just don't use it because I don't love the way it feels in my hand. I'd recommend other people to try it as well, just to see if it works for you. Some people really love Turkish style razors. This particular one, I just don't like the way it feels. But it's about a $15 razor, so not a crazy investment here. Another thing to think about is, again, with all these DE razors, most of them, longevity-wise, you're not going to be worried about. And then the cost of getting the blades is about as cheap as it gets. So again, double-edged safety razor blades typically cost about 10 cents a blade. And then you're snapping these in half. So it's really 5 cents every time you put a different blade in. And the blades aren't single-use necessarily. If you're just shaving with yourself at home, you can easily get a few shaves out of them before you feel any dullness or tugginess. And at that point, you'd want to swap out your blades. So that was probably the easiest starting place for me, just because I was already working with double-edged safety razors and I had a ton of blades lying around. Eventually, I moved on to trying out the Feather Artist Club. And then this is going to be the Kamasori style. So again, it doesn't fold and it doesn't have the scales hanging out. This is just going to be a flat, kind of like holding a butter knife. Main thing you're going to get here is with the actual blades being different. So I'm going to hold up these two blades. So Here's the Artist Club style blade. Here's the DE blade. Main difference is just going to be in the thickness. So these Artist Club style blades are going to be thicker and also longer, but because of the thickness, it makes the blade just a little bit more predictable to work with. It's going to be less prone to bending and flexing while you're using it. And the blade flex you get with these DE blades is really just what makes it so dangerous and unpredictable. But this kind of overcomes it just by having a different style blade. Now these blades do cost 75 cents to $1 per blade, and they last longer than DE blades, but probably not 20 times as long. Like you might comfortably get 10 to 15 shaves out of an Artist Club style blade versus 4 to 5 with a double-edged safety razor blade. So that's something to factor in. But in terms of comfort, this is about as good as it gets in my opinion. I ended up getting this one on sale for about 50 bucks. They usually go for around 100. Even then, I think it's well worth it if you are going to be shaving pretty often. Again, I use mine just for lining my beard, but if you do face shave, it is worth trying one of these. I don't know that I'd recommend a DE Shavette to just about anyone, but I would be pretty quick to recommend the Feather SS model. They have a few different models, the SS, the SR, and the DX. The main difference is just going to be in the shape of the head. This one has a little bump right towards the blade that helps kind of smooth your skin out as you're getting ready to cut it. It kind of compresses part of your skin, so it just makes like a smooth sensation rather than just having the straight edge there. You can't go wrong with any of the Feather Shavettes. Their sister company is Kai. I don't own any of the Kai Captain blades, Kai Captain razors, but you're going to get excellent build quality out of these. Like these are going to end up lasting you your entire life, no issues whatsoever. So highly recommend these. Again, the Artist Club style blades are going to be just a lot more predictable and easier to work with than the double-edged safety razor blades. In between, I do have the Irving Barber Company Shavette. This one is actually going to just be kind of not adjustable, but it allows for multiple blade formats. Essentially, this pops out and you're able to slide in either a double-edged safety razor blade or an Artist Club style blade. This one is going to be the Shavette style. I like the handle of my Artist Club better, but this is still just really cool for the versatility of it. So if you're not sure, this is an option that will allow you to try either blade format. It comes with the traditional folding mechanism as well. So it's, the traditional Western style straight razor, but this one's the commissary one. So another option to think of as well. The one I'd be quickest to recommend is this Focus AL Slim. This one uses half DE blades, and just the way that it holds the blades and protects the blades, it kind of overcomes the unpredictability that comes with DE blades because of how thin they are. So I'll go ahead and insert this one as well, just so you can see what I'm talking about. This one slides right in. It does take only half snapped off DE blades, so if you have any pre-cut off ones, it doesn't quite fit. The designers factored in the fact that the blade bends a little bit at the end and relies upon that pressure to hold it in properly. So that's one thing to think about here as well. But again, DE blades aren't that expensive. But this particular one, the exposure is really minimal, and the coverage for holding the blade in goes all the way up to the edge of the blades. And this does a lot to reduce some of that blade chatter we were talking about. And it has smooth beveled edges. So this one overcomes a lot of the issues with DE razor blades, and in my opinion, this is right there with the Feather. So another one that I'd strongly recommend as well. In terms of shaving, again, I like just lining up my beard, my neck area. If I didn't have a beard, I would shave my face with it as well. I don't really trust myself with my head because, again, you have to just maintain a perfect angle, and with the curves and not being able to see, not for me, I wouldn't recommend it, but there are some guys out there that do it. But again, if you're going to be shaving your beard, I think it's worth trying, especially if you have issues with sensitivity. This is going to be able to help minimize that irritation just by controlling the way the blade's contacting your skin. But with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up with this video. I kind of just want to highlight the Shavettes and talk about some of the different options out there. So Till next time, thank you.